Hello, Raider Nation. Welcome back to the Raider Roster Report. This is Raider Sparks. Coming at you today, we're going to talk about the state of the Raiders wide receivers going into the 2022 season and the ways that we can fix the receiving group. Definitely, I think this is our number one priority as we sit right now. You know, free agency, and this is kind of what I think our biggest need is. So what I'm going to do moving forward, and hopefully you guys all like, subscribe the videos. Hopefully you like the content I've been putting out. Please make comments, subscribe, share it with others. Just really want to see what Raider Nation's thinking out there as far as what the roster's looking like and shaping up as. I know I like all the coaching moves so far. I know I was a little critical of the hire for Ziegler and McDaniels. But I think overall they're doing a good job on the hires they're doing with the coaching staff in general and filling it out. And McDaniels talked about, some of his downfalls in Denver not relating to players and things like that. And so, if that's truly an issue and truly his weak spot, I think he's got some good coaches that are coming in that actually would help in that regards. They're all well regarded coaches, player coaches type thing. All come in with great reputations. So, if that is his weak point, then he's bringing in the right guys to help counter that. So I think it's so far it's been some really positive moves. So I've liked what's been happening with the coaching hires. I know we've made several moves, and I just don't want to take the time now to go over all of them. But definitely happy with what I'm seeing and what's happening with the team. And then it's also good because we're getting different organizations, different philosophies. Not only that, it's going to expand our reach in free agency. So you're going to see some free agents come in here that maybe we wouldn't have seen before. So I think this team will probably look quite a bit different this year. But definitely, as we sit right now, number one need has got to be receiver, and specifically an X receiver. We need that big time guy that can win on the outside from the line of scrimmage. So, and there's a few guys out there in free agency. Obviously, we know about Davante Adams, but he's going to come with probably around a $25 million price tag. Mike Williams, probably about a $17 million price tag, and Allen Robinson, about a $16 million price tag, or around there. So, those are some expensive free agents to bring in, but obviously would help our team with the X receiver, but I'm not sure that's the most practical thing to do. There's some other really good receivers out there in free agency, Christian Kirk and Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin's probably around 18 million. Christian Kirk's maybe 12, 13 million, that type of thing. But the guy we really want to bring in is DJ Chark. He's probably going to be around 12, 13 million. He's really set for a breakout season. And, he's 6'3", 200 pounds, so big target, but deep speed, 4.34, 40 speed. He's only 25 years old. This guy is set to have a monster 3-4 years. So I would definitely be offering him a 3 to 4 year contract and make him a building block on our receiving group. Because let's face it, we only have Hunter Renfrow is a 1,000-yard receiver from the slot, which is awesome. Darren Waller, 1,000-yard tight end, which is awesome. But Brian Edwards on the outside, we have him for 2 more years, but he's not producing yet, or at the rate we need him to. And so we need to look for that X receiver. But in free agency, that X receiver, the guy that lines up outside on the line of scrimmage, is going to be tough to get. So we're going to have to go in the draft, I think, to find him. But we could get the speed receiver to solidify that other spot, that Z-type receiver. And I think DJ Chark would be perfect. Let's face it, he's had Bortles, Minshew, and a rookie Trevor Lawrence throwing to him. So definitely we should be considering that. So when you kind of look at the draft, and I kind of build my draft on the assumption that we get DJ Chark, because I think that makes the most sense. And then we could kind of look for a X receiver to fill that big time role, and then we'd have Renfro, a Waller, Drake out of the backfield, a DJ Chark on the outside to stretch the field. Look how much better our offense looked with Ruggs and that blazing speed on the outside, and we get that with DJ Chark, then we could go to the draft and get our X receiver. So in the draft, I wanted to talk about some guys, and as I go through this, I'll talk about some other guys as well. But first of all, in the draft, really it comes down to me. The first round is Traylon Burks out of Arkansas or Drake London out of USC. These two guys are first round X type receivers. I know that there's other receivers in the draft: Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jamison Williams, and Johan Dotson. All those guys are probably go in the first round. And so you can make a case for drafting all those guys in the first round. But as we sit today, without a true X receiver, and again, that's what this team desperately needs is an X receiver. So it'd be between those two. And to be honest with you, the way this draft shapes out, I think for the Raiders, as we sit here, post free agency, post combine, that type of thing, I think first round picks for where we're at, I think there's only about 6 guys that would make a difference for us to pick, and most of them probably won't be there when we pick, but Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner, Trayvon Walker, Kyle Hamilton, Jordan Davis, and yes, Daxton Hill. Those 6 guys, if I'm there at the 22nd pick and one of them's there, I would have to pick one of those guys unless one of these receivers was there. And the only receiver that I think would qualify for this is Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks does everything that you would want from an X receiver plus more. He, if you compare the two, stat-wise, Treylon Burks or Drake London, they're very comparable in stats. Treylon Burks last year had 66 receptions for 1,100 yards, 16.7 average, 11 touchdowns, and he also rushes the ball as well. He's 6'3", 225. And Drake London, he had 88 receptions for 1,084, 7 touchdowns, 12.3 average. He's 6'5", 210. So he can win on the outside. It's just Treylon gives you the outside. He gives you, bubble screens. He gives you, end arounds. He gives you production out of the backfield, and he can take the top off the defense. I think once we hit the combine, this will become more clear because I think he's faster than what people are saying. And that 7th guy that I would put in there as a total difference maker to draft in the first round is Treylon Burks. So I want a guy whoever we pick in the first round that can change the offense or change the defense. So on offense, Treylon Burks is an absolute game changer for this offense. Now, if we get an X receiver, then it becomes a little different. Maybe we do look at a gadget guy, or maybe we do look at a Z type receiver, or maybe we look at a Garrett Wilson. He could potentially play the X, but he's more of a Z to me as well. So in that whole group, I think Johan Dotson is probably the most explosive. Jamison Williams is that speed guy. So if we didn't get a DJ Chark and we didn't get it, and we got say Allen Robinson, let's say, I would totally get Jamison Williams because then I'd get the speed on the outside. But as we sit now, we have to have that X guy, and to me, the X guy is Treylon Burks. Period. End of story. That would be my first round pick for the Raiders. No offense to Drake London. I mean, if we got DJ Chark and Treylon wasn't there, I would take Drake London because that would fill out our X spot in the first round. He's a good player. He's going to be a good pro. It's just I like Treylon, what brings to the table more than Drake. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Then if we go down a little bit further, we go down in the second round, the projection for second round draft picks. Let's see. So we got Jalen Tolbert out of South Alabama. He's potentially a second round pick. You've got George Pickens, who's also a potential second-round pick who has dealt with some injuries, and David Bell, who's another X receiver. So all these guys play X, although Jalen, I think, could be a Z if you want him to, or even a slot, but he's pretty versatile in that way. As far as stats from last year, the South Alabama performer, Jalen, he actually had the best stat line. He produced 82 receptions, 1,471 yards, 8 TDs, 18 average. He's 6'3", 190. But of the 3 guys on the X receivers, Jalen Tolbert, George Pickens, or David Bell, who to go with there? If we hadn't got an X yet, honestly, Jalen Tolbert at the Senior Bowl, he did some good things, but he also dropped a lot of passes, to be honest with you. I would hesitate a little bit. So the combine's going to be important for him, or the pro day when they get him on the jugs machine, to see, make sure his hands are solid. And that he could catch. George Pickens, SEC film, his freshman year was awesome, right? I mean, he really produced. He's kind of like Stingley in that way. He really produced his freshman year and then tailed off a little bit. Obviously had a big-time injury, came back in the Alabama game, had a great catch, and we didn't really hear much from him. I think his upside versus Tolbert and Bell is tremendous. I think he's probably the better receiver out of all of them. You just worry there's a little diva in there. I mean, I know he's a contested catch guy. It's just I saw a few contested catches where he didn't get, but not only did he not get them, he kind of kind of gave up on the play. Then the guy picked him off. A couple times it happened, and so that's a little, I don't know, devious or whatever you want to call it, but a little concerning. But then David Bell as well, tremendous at Purdue. Great receiver. His issue is can he separate? So the combine is going to be huge for David Bell. And I mean, it's the same concern they had with Brian Edwards, right? So is he better than Brian Edwards? Can he separate more? He's got all the route tree. He's got a great body control, good hands. Everything's perfect. It's just can he separate? So as we sit today, if I had to pick between Tolbert, Pickens, and Bell, I would take Pickens because of the upside. I think he's got the most potential, the most upside. Although Jalen Tolbert's produced more, and I just concerned a little bit with his hands after watching him in the Senior Bowl. He had some drops during the practice. And David Bell, the concern there is can he separate? So right now as we sit, George Pickens, if we didn't get an X receiver in the first round, I would be looking at George Pickens in the second round. And then we drop down to the third round. Romeo Doubs out of Nevada. He definitely, in this group of players, had a ton of production, 80 receptions for 1,109 yards, 11 TDs, 13.9 average. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. The other guy is Christian Watson. I think everybody's heard of him by now out of North Dakota State. Didn't quite have the same production as Romeo did, but still nonetheless a solid career at North Dakota State, put up some really good numbers. And the other guy would play the X was Justin Ross out of Clemson, who they project him to be more as a big slot, but I think they're undervaluing him a little bit in that regard. I think he could play the X. He's got a tremendous upside. He had dealt with injuries. So if we look at this group in the three, I think personally Christian Washington stole the show at the Senior Bowl, and I think he actually upgraded himself to the second round, depending on how well he runs at the combine. But I think everybody knows he's super fast, and I think he stole the show. I think that his only thing is catch radius is huge, long arms, big hands. Again, the jugs machine is going to be important because balls thrown right at him, he struggled with a little bit. He looked like any ball thrown with velocity he had a little trouble with. His hands weren't as soft as some others. But so that's something that maybe need to be looked at. But everything else checks all the boxes. Romeo Doubs, I really wanted to like him. He had the most production in this group. But every time I looked at the Senior Bowl, he wasn't getting separation. He wasn't as physical as I thought he would be. So I'm thinking he's maybe more of a Z-type receiver because he's got the speed. He's got high-end speed. I think the miles per hour, he might have been the fastest or one of the fastest when they graded it. But I don't know if he plays as physical enough to play the X spot. I would love him as a Z. And so if we needed to get in the third round and we already had our X and didn't have our Z receiver, then I would definitely consider. But I'm not sure he plays the X. So in this group, Justin Ross has injuries. He's got a lot of upside. He is a very, very good receiver. And so I'm going to really watch the combine for him. But I think hands down Christian Washington. I actually think Christian Washington is probably going to get bumped up to the second round. And I would not mind seeing this guy in a Raider uniform at all. I think he's a fantastic player, but we shall see what happens. I should back up a little bit. So in that second round, there's some really good other type receivers. Wan'Dale Robinson would be great in a Raider uniform with this system. John Mechie could be a nice Z. Khalil Shakir, he was in the Senior Bowl, had a ton of production out of Boise State, 77 catches for over 1,100 yards and 7 TDs. Just worried about his separation too. He's a pure slot guy and just didn't get a lot of separation at the Senior Bowl. So great hands, soft hands though, big production. Probably, if we did choose to go to another slot guy in this particular offense, I just think the second round's too high for us. And if we go back to the third round, there wasn't any of those other guys to necessarily speak of. However, in the fourth round, which I think Sky Moore will get brought up to the third round, this guy would look great in a Raider uniform. Played with Western Michigan last year. He'll be at the combine, so we'll get to see firsthand his stats. But 95 receptions for 1,292 yards, 10 TDs, 13.6 average. He's 5'10", 195. I mean, just a terrific player. In our system, the way as much as we use the slot guys, I wouldn't be surprised if in the third, fourth, fifth rounds we grabbed another slot guy and take Zay Jones' spot. There's no guarantee Zay's coming back. So I mean, you could potentially have another two types of Hunter Renfrows on the field, and Sky Moore would be awesome to take that Z receiver spot, or we put another slot guy on the field. And I could say the same thing with Calvin Austin out of Memphis. He was awesome at the Senior Bowl. I mean, fantastic. He had 74 receptions for 1149 yards, 8 TDs, 15.5 average. My only concern with him is he's like 5'9", 170, so he's pretty small. So I would be hesitant of him, but we'll see how he comes in at the combine. But I mean, if we went this direction, I mean, Sky Moore in the 4th round would just be a steal. Another steal would be Kyle Phillips. They already compare him to Hunter Renfrow out of UCLA. Definite slot guy. Played in the Shrine Bowl. He was all week at practice. The best receiver there, no, hands down. He'll be at the combine. They all the analysts, always say, yeah, this is Hunter Renfrow, number 2. So 59 receptions, 739 yards, 10 TDs. Just tremendous. He's 5'11", 191, so he's not as small as Calvin Austin, so that's good. And I think he would be a tremendous fit for the Raiders if we wanted to wait a little bit and get him more in the 5th. Be a terrific player. Bo Melton, another guy that is kind of a gadget guy, but he out of Rutgers, he kicked ass at the Senior Bowl as well. He did a good job. 56 receptions, always 618 yards. 3 TDs, so not a lot of production, 5'11", 195, but he really showed what he could do at the Senior Bowl, and I think he impressed a lot of people, and he could do some good things in the Raiders offense too. So, if we don't bring back Zay, let's say we don't get a big-time X and a Chark, and we wanted to bring in more of a gadget-type player, all these guys would be tremendous. Sky Moore would be awesome. Bo Melton would be fine. Kyle Phillips, if we wanted to have 200 Renfrows. I think Austin's a little small, but just some really good talented receivers to keep an eye on. And let's see how these guys do at the combine. They're all going to be there. One of my favorite X receivers is kind of a sleeper, possibly 6th round, but I think he's going to actually climb the boards a little bit more. DeJean Dixon out of Nicholls State, another small school guy. There's a lot of small school guys in this draft. He was at the NFL PA Bowl at 6 receptions for 131 yards and a touchdown. But guy's tremendous. He had 71 receptions for a little over 1,000 yards, 8 TDs, 14 average, 6'4", 200-pound guy. And this guy, late round X type receiver, you bring him in. Is he better than Brian Edwards? Well, you find out, right? You bring him in later in the rounds and have him compete for that spot. And the production he produced in college is fantastic. And then got his opportunity at the NFL PA Bowl, and he kicked ass. So that's all you can ask for, right? He got himself in the window. He got himself a combine invite. So let's keep him on the radar as a potential sleeper. Another guy to keep an eye on is Ty Freifogel out of Indiana. He was the Big Ten receiver of the year. He'll be at the combine. He didn't play in any of the collegiate bowls or any of the extra bowls, but somebody to definitely keep an eye on. His knock is is his separation. Can he separate? And he's a little thin frame. So let's see how he comes into the combine and check his stats and stuff like that. See if he can separate. But he's got some really good tape. Had some really big games, especially I see the picture of Ohio State. He absolutely torched Ohio State. So he's somebody that was been flying under the radar for a while, but I think he's going to pop once he gets to the combine, and we keep an eye on him, Raider fans. He'd be a nice X, or they line him up everywhere, so you could play X or Z, or even in the slot. He was pretty much all over the field for Indiana. They put him wherever they could to get him open. So another guy that really kicked ass at the Senior Bowl is Velus Jones out of Tennessee. He'll be at the combine. He's a Z or a slot. He's 6'2", a little over 200 pounds, 807 yards last year for 7 TDs. So he's a player that everybody thought maybe we should produce more, but I think it might be a product of the quarterback, because every time you looked at the practice tape for the Senior Bowl, this dude was open, and he was flying by guys. I don't know what he runs. I'm very curious, but I would love to have this guy. If we didn't get DJ Chark, right, and we were getting into the later rounds, right now he's projected as a 6th-round pick. I think he's going to go up the boards, and we're going to wait after the combine to see where he actually kind of starts fitting in at. But he would be a tremendous Z receiver for us if we didn't get our free agent, and we went with the X early. If we doubled up on receivers, this would be an excellent pick for the Raiders. Same as Michael Woods. He's maybe a 7th round or maybe even UDFA, but Oklahoma kid. They didn't really utilize him a lot at Oklahoma, but he played at the Shrine Bowl and did a good job all week at practice and things like that. So, I'm sorry, the NFLPA Bowl is where he was at. So yeah, definitely a productive player and somebody to keep an eye on. He could definitely play the Z for us. Big time playmaker is what he really is. So. Again, another guy that we could look to as an outside playmaker if we get our true X somewhere along the line, and he will be at the combine as well, so you could check him out. Tanner Connor out of Idaho State is an under the radar guy. Didn't get an invite to the combine as of yet. He was at the Shrine Bowl and he was very impressive at the Shrine Bowl. He's 6'3", 230, a big dude. He's a blocker. He likes to block on the outside. He separates. He's a weightlifter. All those things, and he's projected to run a 4.340 at 6'3", 230. If that happens, he's not going to be under the radar much longer. So keep an eye on him, Raider fans. Let's see what he does. If we need a big time X, late round developmental X, or somebody to come in to compete with Brian Edwards for that X spot. Then let's keep an eye on Tanner Connor out of Idaho State. Another guy that's flying under the radar right now is Devin Williams, playmaker out of Oregon. They line him up kind of all over the place. I don't really know too much about his measurables. I have to do a little bit more research on him, but his highlight film looks really good. I know he got the invite to the combine as well. I'm not sure why he didn't play in any of the after season bowls or anything like that, but. Big time player. I think big time plays anyway. So I'm definitely keep an eye on him. And a guy that I really liked at the Shrine Bowl was Josh Johnson. I think he's really underrated out of Tulsa. Very productive. 83 receptions for over 1,100 yards, 6 TDs, 13 average. He's 5'11", about 186, I think. I'm curious. He got an invite to the combine, so I really want to see what he measures out of. Because honestly, when I watched the film and watched this guy play, he ran so smooth. It looked effortless, and he was so much faster than everybody. He was wide open everywhere, and he looked like he was a 6'2", 210, 205-pound receiver. And then I saw his measurables. I was like, wait, this doesn't seem right. Is this the same guy? And I think I saw one. He was 5'10", like 170. I've looked other places, so I'm not really sure of his size, but he looked big on film. He looked like he could play an X or a Z for us. I know they have him projected even as a big slot. I think they're undervaluing him. I think the way that he runs is so smooth. I could definitely see the Raiders put this guy in a uniform. So that's all the guys I got. I gave you a big list of receivers for the Raiders to possibly target, and it all kind of comes down to if we're going for an X or going for a Z-type receiver or a slot-type receiver, and then also the combine as well. And you never know. During the combine, somebody else might jump up and catch our eye. Some of these other guys might fall. If they don't have a good combine, we'll take them off the list, but definitely, after the combine, after free agency, I think we'll narrow the list down even further to see what receivers will look best in the Raider uniform. But definitely comment. I want to know your guys' thoughts. All the bowl games, all the players, all the receivers that are out there, all the small school receivers, and just kind of what receivers you think the Raiders should be looking for, who they should be targeting, who are your favorite receivers. If you're listening, you're fans of another team. What's your team, and what receivers do you have in mind? What receivers are standing out to you? I'd like to hear from what other teams are thinking as well. So anyways, please like, share, subscribe to the video. Hopefully you liked it. Like it. Hit the like button if you did. Make comments. Want to hear what everybody's thinking out there in Raider Nation. But yeah, we got some tremendous players the Raiders could pick up. I hope they do the right thing in free agency. Again, I think DJ Chark would be a perfect fit for this team if we're not willing to spend big on a true X receiver. I think he would be the perfect solution for that Z spot. We could go target an X in the draft. Have Hunter Renfrow. Hopefully we get him extended. Waller. Hopefully we get him a little bit better contract with some guaranteed money. And then of course we got Jake and Drake or Josh and Drake in the backfield. So yeah, the offense would look sweet. And I'm really excited about some of these wide receiver prospects, but definitely want to hear from you, Raider Nation. Until next time, I think the next one I'll go in order of the needs, and I think right now our cornerback situation is probably the next need. So I'll kind of go through the cornerbacks that I saw the different bowl games and things like that, and kind of point out kind of the way I just did. Hopefully you like the content, and I'll do it for the cornerbacks, and we'll kind of just do it for each position group. All right, this is Raider Sparks with the Raider Roster Report. You guys have a good day.